Dear World. Or should I address the students? Ah, screw it. World it is. So, dear World, I am thoroughly convinced that my professor is a toaster with a PhD. A sane person might set the stage first, but honestly, if his class has just eaten up any sanity I possessed, I've been left a foil hat wearing, muttering nut job, so I'm just gonna jump right in the deep end. When classes had started this semester, I had just a joke theory that one of my professors, I'm gonna call him T, it's not a real person, but an AI. That was entirely because of these intro videos he made us watch. It was like 24 of them or something like that. They were all narrated with that TikTok AI voice. I'm sure you've all seen shorts that have it. But as time went on, classes occurred, we kept getting lecture videos, and it started to become less of a joke and more of a crackpot theory. Until, at least as far as I'm convinced, it's not even a theory anymore. This man is just a goddamn AI! The best place to start is at the beginning of the course. T made us watch these AI narrated videos. It summarized the whole semester's worth of content by chapter, about 5 to 10 minute spurts. Nothing crazy. But the weirdness didn't stop there. You see, interestingly enough, on his syllabus, there is a place where there's supposed to be a photo of him, but all that is there is this text that says, "Photo of Professor T." It's as if the internet ran out of PNGs and just hoped no student would be nosy enough to care. Unfortunately for them, my autism knows no bounds. I kept digging. I found even stranger things. There was an introduction video. It wasn't required to watch, but it was there. It's supposed to be about what this course is going to be like, what we're going to learn about. Well, learn in quotations, because holy, it's abysmal. Anyways, that introduction video is also recorded, that TikTok narration AI. The weirdest part of it all, I think, is that he requested that we ask TAs, teaching assistants, for help if we don't understand something or want extra eyes on an assignment rather than him. I've never had a professor say that before, and they really are treating it like this guy's on a permanent vacation. When I first learned all this, I just figured, it's an online class. There's probably thousands of students in it. That's probably why. Maybe we each have our own TAs associated by section. By the time I finally realized that there was something more sinister going on, it was far too late. So I need to introduce another professor into this mix as well. So this is going to be Professor Artificial Handler, or also Professor AH, because I'm kind of lazy. Now, AH is important to the story because not only is he the reason I started to actually start to believe my little joke, but he's also half of the content that I'm getting assigned. So he is the professor assigned to the recitation period associated with this class, which is already strange because for the most part, every other class has the same professors for both. Now, if you don't know what a recitation is, I should probably explain that that's once a week, hour-ish block of time where you go into a class, you do some questions that TAs give you. You're graded usually for participation. TAs are there to answer questions, really make sure you understand the material. It's what helps you learn the most. This one recitation class is very different though. TAs still handle all of the lecturing, all of the teaching, stuff like that. AH sits in the room. He doesn't really do anything. I genuinely have no idea what this man does on campus, but he exists. In fact, the only time I've interacted with him was on the first day. Before I jump into telling you about the first day, it's probably best you understand my schedule better. So, classes for this semester started on a Thursday. For me, in the morning, I have this 7:30 a.m. class. Immediately after that class, I'm supposed to have the recitation for his class with AH. And then finally, I end off my day with 2 more classes after that. So, the first week of school, this class was canceled. I just thought it was because there was no lecture videos posted, but the real reason he canceled it was likely far more evil than that. So, we had our first recitation of class on Thursday, the day after the cutoff point for getting our money back. 1 week, 7 days. This is the first scam. You see, they canceled the first class so that would be locked in to their class for this subject. Otherwise, we had to eat the very expensive college tuition. Now, like I said, on the first day, this is the only time we ever interacted with AH. He basically standing up, we're all walking in, and he yells at us that we all need to swipe in. It's like we're swiping into a secret meeting. We all need to have a campus ID, we have to scan in, we have to take these quizzes that open up at 9 a.m. sharp and close at 9:04 a.m. sharp. Like, it's not like you have 4 minutes, there's 4 minutes to take the quiz. Doesn't matter if you got there at 9:03, it locks at 9:04. Doesn't matter if you had any issues. Traffic, I guess, honestly, you should just go fuck yourself. Miss a day of class? You better have a doctor's note. It can't even be an email. It needs to be a signed note for some reason. I don't know. AH had this big spiel about it. It got really aggressive for no reason. It was the first day. I was like, what the fuck is up this guy's ass? But the weird thing is that he mentioned that all of our assignments are going to be graded by AI. This right here is what set off my spidey sense. I was already kind of making the joke about T being an AI, so when AH said that, like, things just started lining up. Also, if the assignments are being graded by AI, what the hell are TAs being paid for? Because that's like half of their job. But I digress. So once AH mentioned, you know, that all of our assignments are being graded by AI, this is when I really started to go off the deep end. I started researching anything I could on T because there was just something strange about him.
That motherfucker back there is not real!
So I started digging, and I found a couple of things. With the help of a TA friend of mine who is completely unrelated to this class, to even the subject, he's a TA for something else. He looked through the faculty directory for me, and we couldn't find a photo of T, which is very, very strange. You see, in order to have an ID, you need a photo, but there's no photo of him that exists. We also found tons of posts on like Reddit, people who had the same professor duo as me, saying basically the same thing, that AH is the one who does everything, that T just isn't there. Things just weren't clicking. T is the author of the textbook that we had to buy. Him and AH are listed as co-authors for it. And it's not really a textbook. It is quite literally just multiple choice questions and answers. The answers are like highlighted. So you're basically paying to be able to do assignments that are required. It's abysmal. Regardless, I start digging into T. Couldn't find photos of him in his own textbook, say about the meet the author part. There's nothing on the faculty directory. Obviously his syllabus was a bust versus a photo of T. Like, he doesn't exist. Finally, I thought I found what would be evidence of his existence. I found his LinkedIn. I'm not going to link or show anything because I'm trying to be anonymous, but when I found his LinkedIn, he was using his middle name instead of his first name, and, even stranger, there's still no photos of it. Oh, also it doesn't list the campus that I go to as a place that he works, but it did list another campus that's local. And funnily enough, in the same department that he should be in, I have a very close professor friend who works at that department. So I went and I asked this professor friend of mine, it's like, hey, do you know T? And he's looking at the name, and he goes, you know, I recognize the name as somebody who's been here since 2020, but I don't recognize a face. Now that's strange because T officially has an office at the same place, nearby this professor friend. So realistically, at some point, they should have run into each other, office hours, being at campus at the same time, but he hasn't. And I trust this professor friend of mine a lot. I mean, the guy has never let me down once in my entire life. And I've known him since, well, before going to college, so a family friend rather than just a friend from being in my program. That right there was really just the last piece of the puzzle I needed, was that there's no photos of this guy. Nobody can seem to recall him. I did meet one student who said that he had a class last semester. He's like, oh yeah, I had a Zoom call with him and he was super chill. But he followed that up with, yeah, he didn't have his camera on though. We did finally get non-AI narrated lecture videos over one weekend. And actually, it's been pretty consistent non-AI narrated ones. And that's because they're entirely narrated by AH. Alone. There is no mention of T, only AH. T just straight up does not exist. Right, motherfucker. It's over.
How'd you find me?
GPS tap on your computer. Jesus Christ, T. Jesus fucking Christ. You're the Bay Harbor AI?
I really hate that name.
Jesus Christ, man.
You said that.
Always knew there was something off with you. This shit?
What can I say? You were right about me.
I also want to explain why I'm calling AH the AI handler. So, he's got very specific mannerisms, just the way he talks, he's always so forceful, very just aggressive in his speaking. And when he's doing the lecture videos that get posted, you know, he's talking the same way. So that translates into now T, whenever he responds to the occasional email you have to send about grade stuff, because TAs don't have the power to change grades, so if you do have a grading issue, you need to take it to him. It's the only time you're allowed to. do, again, strange. T tends to respond the exact same way, except with that forced niceness that AI is programmed to have. It's that very just fake feeling of just, yeah, okay, whatever, thumbs up, but just you just know something's off. The other reason I think that AH is the AI handler is because he is the only link outside of his campus to Mr. T. So they're both co-authors of the textbook on Amazon. You don't get it through the school. Anywhere else that this guy supposedly exists, just nobody's seen him. So AH is quite literally the only link we have to see, and that's why I'm convinced that he is the AI handler. It doesn't stop there either. See, I took the textbook questions and I threw them into AI just to see what AI thought of them, and AI straight up said, this looks like this was generated using AI. See, T is listed as the author of the textbook, and I'm genuinely convinced that he is, because T is a goddamn AI. I'm fully convinced. Nobody has seen this man. He doesn't exist on paper. Well, no, he only exists on paper, I should say. He doesn't exist in life. He has 30-minute office hours that are on weekends so that students can't actually get there in time. It's just any way that he can get without interacting with you face to face, he will do. And apparently, the one person who has seen him over a Zoom meeting hasn't even seen his face. The camera was turned off. What? This man is just... there's no way this man is real. This isn't like it's some excuse about like a poor, sorry professor, because the guy isn't really the teacher of the class. This AI program, he's an administrator. They're taking another professor's lecture videos, and they're using that to teach a class. This guy's only there to administrate stuff. Not even grade things, because there's TAs and openly, as I say, AI grading everything. What is the point of this guy? The only possible way I can see his existence making sense is if the real T, the one who actually has a full name, if that actual guy was like, okay with giving Professor AH his salary for whatever reason, like some identity fraud, IRS conspiracy, like bullshit. But the IRS doesn't fuck around, so I know that that's not it. I don't get it. And it's not even like this is some, just useless ethics course I could just let this go on. Or, one of those cultural courses that colleges force upper students to take, even though, let's face it, nobody pays attention in those classes unless your major guarantees that you need to know that stuff. No, this is upper-end engineering credit. I actually need this class. If you have any kind of engineer who doesn't understand this stuff, you're gonna get more tragedies like the bridge collapse of 1967, the Silver Bridge collapse. Think about that. Either AH, because I genuinely am convinced that he's the AI handler. As I said earlier, he's the only link we have to T outside of the school. If AH is doing this, his lecture videos are dog shit anyways, so he's sending us out to the field unprepared, right? Which is insane, because that's putting everyone's lives at risk. Would you want to drive on a civil engineer's bridge who doesn't know what the hell he's doing? No, you wouldn't. That's how you get a guy making a glass bridge. What? No. But beyond that, it could be, maybe, that the school knows. The campus could absolutely know that this is going on and be okay with it. There is a school out in Scottsdale, Arizona that I just found out about, and they're entirely open about it. It's entirely taught and administrated by AI. It's a private school. There's no way they just started that kind of just test with K through 12 students. They wouldn't jeopardize students like that. They absolutely have done this behind the scenes on a college level. Alright, T, with all that in mind, are you the AI grading our papers? Are you? You gear-headed, oil-bleeding, bolt-filled, simulated, tin-manned, wire-veined, copper-filled, number-crunching, power-eating, gear-throwing, rusty clanker? Sincerely, true.